My fiancée slept with her ex the night before our wedding. When I confronted her, she smirked. We're not married yet, so forget it. The next day, I made sure everyone at the ceremony heard the truth. You spend months, even years, planning a single day. You obsess over the color of the napkins, the font on the invitations, the flavor of the cake. You do it because you believe that day is the start of the rest of your life. You believe it is a foundation. What you never plan for is discovering that the foundation is rotten through, just hours before you're supposed to build your life on it. My name is David, and yesterday was supposed to be my wedding day. I'm a pretty straightforward guy. I run a business restoring classic cars. It is a passion I turned into a living. I deal with things I can see and touch: metal, leather, engines. I understand how things work. If a part is broken, you replace it. If the frame is bent, you straighten it. I thought relationships were the same. You find a problem, you fix it. You communicate, you work together. My relationship with my fiancée Emily seemed like a perfectly restored machine. We had been together for 3 years. We were partners. We split our finances. We made decisions together. We argued sometimes, but we always found a way back to center. I was not a guy who paid for everything or ignored problems. We were a team. Or so I thought. Her ex-boyfriend, a guy named Greg, was the one piece that never quite fit. He was always on the edges of our life. A text on her birthday, a comment on her social media. She always told me it was nothing, that they had a long history and were just friends. She said he was a closed chapter. I am a man who values trust above all else, so I believed her. That was my mistake. The night before our wedding, we followed tradition and spent the night apart. She went for a quiet night with her bridesmaids. I stayed at our house with my best man, my brother Mike. I was not nervous. I was excited. I was ready. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up to a text. It was from Megan, one of Emily's bridesmaids and the wife of one of my good friends. The text was short and cryptic. I am so sorry, Dave. I cannot be a part of this. I have gone home. Check the location tag on the photo Emily's sister just posted. My heart started pounding. I went to social media. Emily's sister, her maid of honor, had posted a picture of a group of them doing shots at a bar. The caption was, "One last night of freedom for my girl." I clicked the location tag. It was a bar I knew well. It was 2 blocks from Greg's apartment. A cold feeling washed over me. I tried to tell myself it was a coincidence, but I could not shake it. I pulled on a pair of jeans and a sweatshirt. Mike woke up as I was grabbing my keys. "What is going on?" he asked. "I am just going for a drive," I told him. I did not drive to the bar. I drove to Greg's apartment building. And there it was, Emily's car, parked right out front. There was no doubt it was hers. A small dent on the rear bumper from when she backed into a post 6 months ago was clearly visible under the streetlights. I did not get out of the car. I did not call her. I just sat there for about an hour, the engine off, the silence in my truck deafening. I felt a strange calm settle over me. It was the same feeling I get when I find a hidden patch of rust on a classic car. The disappointment is sharp, but it is immediately replaced by the cold, clear reality of the work that needs to be done. The damage was there. Now I had to decide how to deal with it. I drove home. I did not sleep. I just sat in the living room, watching the sun come up, and I made a plan. My wedding day was still going to happen, but the main event had changed. Emily got home around 7 in the morning, looking tired but happy. She was humming as she walked in the door. "Hey, you," she said, kissing me on the cheek. "Big day." I let her get a coffee. I let her sit down at the kitchen table. Then I walked over, sat across from her, and placed my phone on the table. It was open to a picture I had taken of her car parked in front of Greg's building. Her smile vanished. "What is this?" "That is your car," I said, my voice flat. "I took that picture at 3:30 this morning. It was parked outside Greg's apartment." She tried to deny it at first. She said she had let a friend borrow her car, that she had been at a hotel with her bridesmaids all night. But her lies were clumsy, unprepared. I just stared at her, my silence letting her stories fall apart. Finally, her face hardened. The panic was replaced by a defiant anger. She dropped the act. "Fine," she said, crossing her arms. "So I saw him. We talked. It was a goodbye. It is not a big deal." "A goodbye that took all night?" I asked. She looked me dead in the eye. A small, arrogant smirk played on her lips. We are not married yet, David. Technically, I did not do anything wrong. It is not cheating if we are not married, so just forget it. We have a wedding to get to. That was it. That was the moment everything became clear. It was not just the act itself. It was the complete and total lack of remorse, the arrogance, the belief that she could look me in the face, admit to betraying me the night before our wedding, and expect me to just forget it because of a technicality. I stood up from the table. I looked at her, the woman I was supposed to promise my life to in just a few hours, and I felt nothing. The love was gone, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. You are right, I said. Let us not be late. She seemed relieved, thinking she had won, thinking I was weak enough to swallow her disrespect and walk down that aisle. She had no idea. The ceremony was still on, but I was no longer the groom. I was the executioner. Update 1. The past week has felt like a lifetime. Thank you to everyone who has commented and sent messages. It helps to know you are not alone when your world gets turned upside down. A lot of you have asked for the details of what happened at the ceremony. It was not an explosion. It was a controlled demolition. After Emily left to go get ready with her bridesmaids, my plan went into motion. The first call I made was to the wedding venue. I spoke to the event coordinator and told her there was a slight change to the reception schedule. The video montage of our love story, which was supposed to play during dinner, needed to be played during the ceremony instead. I told her it was a surprise for Emily. I emailed her a new video file, a file I had spent the morning creating. The original video was a sappy collection of photos from our 3 years together. The new one was different. It started with the picture of her car outside Greg's apartment. Then it showed a series of screenshots. After I got home that morning, I had done some digging. I logged into our shared phone account. It turned out her texts to Greg had been going on for months. They were not just friendly, they were detailed, graphic, and full of plans for their future. A future that did not include me. She was planning on leaving me after the wedding. No, after our finances were legally combined, and after my name was on the deed to the house she was supposed to move into with me. The house my parents had given us as a wedding gift. The texts made it all clear. This was not a last-minute mistake. It was a long-term plan. I put the most damning texts into the video, set to the same romantic music as our original montage. The second call was to my parents. I told them everything. My dad, a man of few words, just said, "Son, you do what you have to do. We are behind you 100%. My mom cried, but not for the wedding. She cried because she knew how much I had been hurt. The third call was to the bank. I froze our joint savings account, the one we had been using for wedding expenses. I also put a fraud alert on my personal credit cards. Then, I got ready. I put on my tux. I drove to the venue. I stood at the altar with my brother Mike by my side, and I waited. I looked out at the guests, at our friends and family, all of them smiling, excited for us. I saw her parents in the front row, looking so proud. I felt a pang of sadness for them, for the humiliation they were about to face. But my resolve was like steel. The music started. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle. Then came Emily. She looked beautiful. She was radiant, smiling, playing the part of the blushing bride perfectly. As she reached the altar, she squeezed my hand and whispered, "See? Everything is going to be perfect." The officiant began. He talked about love, trust, and commitment. The irony was so thick I could taste it. He went through the opening remarks, and then he got to the part where he was supposed to ask us to say our vows. That was my cue. "Before we do that," I said, my voice calm and clear, my hand held up to stop him. "I have something I want to share. A tribute to my beautiful bride." Emily looked at me, a little confused but smiling, thinking this was some romantic gesture. I nodded to the event coordinator at the back of the room. The lights dimmed, and the large screen above the altar, the one that was supposed to show our smiling faces, flickered to life. The first image that appeared was her car. In the quiet church, a few people gasped. Then came the text messages, displayed in huge letters for everyone to read. "Cannot wait to be done with this wedding and finally be with you. Just have to get through this one more day. He has no idea. The house is perfect. We will be so happy there once Dave is out of the picture." The room was completely silent. The romantic music swelled as messages detailing her night with Greg and their plans to take my assets scrolled across the screen. I did not look at the screen. I looked at Emily. Her face had gone from confusion to shock to pure, horrified white. Her mouth was open, but no sound was coming out. Her mother was sobbing. Her father looked like he was going to be sick. The video ended with a final text from her to Greg, sent just an hour before she got home that morning. "It is done. He is a fool. I will see you in a few weeks." The screen went black. The lights came up. I turned to face the guests. "There will be no wedding today," I said, my voice steady. "As you can see, the bride has made other arrangements." I took the microphone from the officiant's stand. "I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate with us. My family and I have paid for a wonderful reception. I ask that you all stay and enjoy the food and drinks. This is no longer a wedding. It is a celebration of truth and a celebration of dodging a bullet." Then I looked at Emily. The smirk was gone. All that was left was the ugly, twisted face of a person whose perfect plan had just been blown to pieces in front of everyone she knew. "We are not married yet," I said, repeating her own words back to her. "So I believe this is where we forget it." I dropped the microphone on the floor. I turned, walked down the aisle, and did not look back. Mike was right behind me. We got into my truck and drove away. The last thing I saw in my rearview mirror was Emily, still standing at the altar, a beautiful bride in a white dress, completely and utterly alone. Update 2. It has been a month since the wedding that never was. I spent the first 2 weeks off the grid. Mike and I took the non-refundable honeymoon trip to Hawaii. It felt strange at first, but it was exactly what I needed. Sun, surf, and zero contact with the life I had just detonated. My phone was off the entire time. When I finally turned it back on, it was like opening a floodgate. Hundreds of messages, missed calls, voicemails. The initial wave was from friends and family, all offering support. They had all stayed for the reception, which my brother had turned into a legendary party. He told everyone it was my Independence Day celebration. But then there was the other wave of messages, the ones from Emily and her family. They ranged from furious to pathetic. Her father left a series of voicemails threatening to sue me for defamation, for public humiliation, for the cost of their wedding contributions. He called me every name in the book. Her sister sent long, rambling texts about how I had ruined Emily's life, how she was a good person who had made a mistake, and how I was a monster for doing what I did. And then there were the messages from Emily herself. They were a journey. The first few were full of rage. She called me a psycho, said I had planned the whole thing to destroy her. Then they shifted to bargaining. She said we could still fix it, that she would go to therapy, that she would cut Greg out of her life forever. The last few messages, sent in the middle of the night, were just single words. "Please, sorry, talk to me." I did not respond to any of them. Instead, I had my lawyer do the talking. My lawyer, a woman who specializes in messy breakups, sent a single comprehensive letter to Emily's father. The letter stated a few simple facts. 1. There would be no lawsuit for defamation, because everything I had shown was the verifiable truth, and I had the digital records to prove it. 2. I was not responsible for their emotional distress, as it was a direct result of their daughter's actions. 3. And this was the best part. The letter included a detailed invoice. It was for all the wedding expenses that my family and I had covered. We had paid for the venue, the catering, the band, the flowers. Her family had only covered the cost of her dress and the rehearsal dinner. The contract we had all signed with the venue had a clause stating that, in the event of a cancellation due to the fault of one party, that party was responsible for all non-refundable costs. My lawyer argued, quite convincingly, that a bride sleeping with her ex-boyfriend the night before the wedding constituted fault. The invoice was for a little over $50,000. The letter concluded by stating that if they pursued any legal action against me, I would immediately file a counterclaim for that amount, plus my legal fees. And as a final note, my lawyer mentioned that we had evidence of a conspiracy to commit fraud based on the text messages where Emily and Greg discussed their plan to take my assets after the marriage. We made it clear that if they pushed this, we would pursue that as well. The threats stopped immediately. The fallout in their personal lives has been catastrophic. I have heard from mutual friends that Emily has become a social pariah. The public nature of the humiliation was something she could not spin or deny. Everyone saw the proof. Her bridesmaids, except for her sister and the one who warned me, have all cut ties with her. She had to quit her job because the gossip was relentless. Greg, the ex-boyfriend, did not escape either. It turns out he had a live-in girlfriend of his own, a woman who had no idea he was still entangled with Emily. One of the guests at the wedding knew her and, feeling a sense of righteous anger, sent her the video of the ceremony. His life, I am told, has also been blown apart. He is now single and has a reputation as a cheater. The house my parents had given us is the final piece of the puzzle. The deed was in my name and my parents' names to be transferred fully to me and Emily after the wedding. Since the wedding never happened, the transfer never happened. My parents and I are in the process of selling it. Emily has no legal claim to it whatsoever. The dream house she was planning to live in with Greg, funded by me, is now just another thing she has lost. She has tried to reach me through other people. She had her mother call my mother. My mom, a sweet woman who is now furious, told her that her daughter was a disgrace and to never call our house again. The arrogance she showed me that morning, the smirk on her face when she told me to forget it, was based on a single flawed assumption that I would be too weak, too embarrassed, too invested to do anything about it. She thought she held all the cards. She never stopped to think that I was the one who had built the table the game was being played on. She did not just lose the game, she lost the whole casino. Final update. It has been 6 months. The dust has settled, and the landscape of my life is completely different. I am writing this final update, not because there is new drama, but because the story has reached its quiet, inevitable conclusion. After the legal threats died down, I focused on rebuilding. I sold the house my parents had gifted us, and with their blessing, I used the money to expand my classic car business. I poured my energy into something I loved, something real and tangible. The work has been therapeutic. Taking something old and broken and making it new again has a certain poetry to it. I have had no direct contact with Emily since the day of the non-wedding. The silence has been absolute. But news travels in a small town. What I have heard paints a bleak picture of the consequences she created for herself. Her family did not recover easily. The $50,000 invoice from my lawyer became a point of massive conflict. While we never pursued the claim, the threat of it hung over them. Her father, a proud man, was humiliated. His daughter's actions had not only cost them socially, but it had also exposed them to a huge financial liability. Their relationship with Emily, I am told, is strained and full of resentment. They are supporting her, but the trust and pride are gone. Emily herself is a ghost of the person she was. She is still unemployed and living with her parents. Her attempts to re-enter the social scene have been failures. The story of what happened at the wedding has become a local legend. She is not seen as a woman who made a mistake. She is seen as a cautionary tale. The public evidence made it impossible for her to craft a victim narrative. The truth was too raw, too visible. About 2 months ago, I ran into Megan, the bridesmaid who sent me the warning text. We were at the same coffee shop. She was hesitant at first, but I went over and thanked her. I told her that what she did was one of the bravest and most decent things I had ever seen. She told me she had lost her friendship with Emily over it, but she had no regrets. She said the arrogance and cruelty she had witnessed from Emily and her sister that night had been sickening. She told me that Emily truly believed I would just get over it, and that they had all laughed about how I was too invested to ever walk away. That conversation confirmed everything for me. My revenge was not just about exposing a cheater. It was about shattering an entire worldview built on arrogance and disrespect. Emily and her circle believed they were untouchable, that the normal rules of decency did not apply to them. They believed they could manipulate and deceive without consequence. The wedding day was not an act of rage. It was a lesson. A very public, very expensive lesson in the fact that actions have consequences. The smirk she gave me that morning was the last time she would ever feel so confident, so untouchable. I took that confidence and in front of 200 people, I ground it into dust. I am dating again. Nothing serious, but it is nice to meet new people. to build something new on a clean foundation. I am more cautious now, more observant. But I am not bitter. What Emily did was a reflection of her character, not a judgment on mine. The greatest revenge I have found is not the dramatic explosion. It is the quiet rebuilding that comes after. It is the peace you find in a life free of lies. Emily is trapped in the wreckage of the life she blew up. I am on a new road, in a car I built myself, and the future looks clear and open. She thought she was closing a chapter with her ex that night. Instead, she closed the entire book on the life she thought she was going to have. And I was the one who got to write the ending.